Well, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Papa's Workshops. These are for Adam, Brady, Luke, and Brenna, and for all those others that are interested in seeing an old man make sawdust. But before we get started, we need to check in with my assistant. Well, there we are. He just had her morning treat. You ready to get to work? Let's get to work. All right, this session we hope to finish the bonnet top. I think we will. Still waiting on the hinges for the doors, but we still have quite a bit of work to do on the bonnet top. So let's get to work. All right, we got the side molding put on there. Got a little bit of a mismatch just because these were done by hand. So we'll have to take a little bit off of there, off the top, get that straight. I cut a piece of scrap and used that to place those while I was getting the miters right, because we got to get it this way and this way, so I needed repeatability, so I just used that. So these are set up. So now the only thing that's left, we got the skin that has to go over this, the plinth, the base of the flutes. That is, they're ready to go in, but I won't put those in until we get the skin. It can be easier to fit that without having to worry about the notch. And then of course we've got to turn the finials. So we got the other end done as well. So we are getting close. A couple of housekeeping things. First, this block here is going to be my method to hold this top. If it were to lean forward, to keep that from falling out. So I've just got a screw. I put a threaded insert in there and put a screw through it. So it's just in this back piece. And this block here just has an oversized hole. So that bolt sticks to the hole. So now you can't lift that up. So if it were to lean forward, it can't come up. It's pinned in the front, and we've got this overlap right here, about 3/8 of an inch overlap on this. So side to side, it can't go anywhere, and this will keep it from being removable. So you have to take those screws out in order to lift this out of there. The other thing I did was I took some scrap and made a little 15-degree ramp and screwed that on, and that's not cross grain. This is an end grain. The grain's going this way, so is the top, and so it's got a ramp. So when you go to put this on there, it'll help find the center. I'm worried about this being damaged when it's taken apart and moved. So that'll help get it. The ramp on both sides will help get it centered as you go down. And I made some temporary feet right here that I'm just going to screw on the bottom of this, behind this molding, when it's off, when you're doing it for transport. And then I'll just screw those in there like this for storage of that. So that's the last little bit of those kinds of odds and ends. There's a better view of the ramp and the block. And I've got I put the feet on the bottom of this, and see, this is going to protect this whole edge. So there's this threaded insert in the sides. So there. All right, we got the 1/8 skin, and I just took a bucket of warm water and just wetted them both sides, and I just have them loosely clamped in place. I'm going to let that dry overnight, and that'll kind of pre-bend it. See, I'm not exactly all the way down, but there's no good way to clamp this. But anyway, this will get them more or less to the right curve, and then I can cut the notch for the plinth. And about have to nail these on. I don't know. There's no, like I said, there's no good way to clamp them, so I'll have to look at the pictures to see how they did the original. Anyway, we're gonna let that sit overnight. All right, let's take the clamps off and see how well this worked. Oh, I see already I've got a spot. I had a glue line right there, and it's kind of given out. It kind of broke apart. Should have used waterproof glue, I guess. But it does kind of get me close. So now I can trim that. I have to re-glue that. I don't know if the other side did the same thing. No, that one came out okay. So I'll make the notch for the plinth and trim the top a little bit. And we'll glue those on there after I figure out how I'm going to fix this one. The glue just shifted. Maybe it'll be all right. All right, we got the skin put on there, and I filled the nail hole. I nailed it. I can't really see on the pictures how they did it, but so we're gonna let that dry overnight, and then we'll sand this all down and trim the area for the plinth. So we're ready to start turning. So here's these are the two different, this is the center one, and so it has 2 rows of petals there that we have to carve. The tops, it's just supposed to represent a flame. Those are identical on all 3, and this base is identical on all 3. So we're going to turn this in 3 parts, 1, 2, and 3. And then here are the outside ones. It just has 1 set of petals, but they actually go out farther than the others. And see that the center one looks, it's more of the ball shows. And so this one's actually a bigger diameter at the outside ones are than the center one. So I've got material cut out. I actually got 4 blanks. This is all from the cutoffs from the gooseneck molding. So that'll do these tops and bottoms. And I got extra there in case I goof up one. And then I got some 12-quarter stock. So this one's actually close to 3 1/4 at its minimum. So those are going to be the 2 outside ones, and then this is just about 3 and right about at 3 for the center one. So we'll start on the smaller ones, get those turned, and then we'll have to mark the divisions and carve the petals and the flutes by hand. All right, here at the lathe, I've turned 2 bases and 1 top, and I just used a wrench. So I got 1/2-inch tendons, and I just use a wrench to verify that that's That's the right size. I got two other tops done. I just have to trim the tops of the tops. The body of this, it's just an overall shape because we're going to put the flutes and everything's going to be carved, so I don't have to worry too much. So I got to make one more of these, and then we can do the center. And I thought my chuck would take a 1/2-inch tendon, but it doesn't. It's just a little bit too small, so I'm not real sure how I'm going to do this. Because the ball part's going to have 2 holes instead of tendons, and the blocks aren't long enough to make a tendon. So I'll figure something out. All right, I got them all turned. So now I need to mark the petals. There's 18 petals, so I've got an index plate that I use, and I've got this. I made a little adapter that fits in my chuck, but also has the 1/2-inch tendon that fits into this. And so I got this pencil is at the center line, so I just need to take that and mark the leaves and just rotate around the index plate, and I'll do that on all 3 of the balls. All right, we're going to start on the carving the leaves, or the petals, I guess they are, on that. And this is the reason I did this in 2 separate pieces. If we had this bottom piece turned as part of this, it'd be hard to get in there without nicking this. So this way, I can get right up to where the base is and do that. So I'm just kind of taking the V tool and define those edges, and then we'll have to shape the tops and then just scoop out the petals. All right, I got the petals all defined. This is the center one, and I've marked the rounds. You can see that. Let's take a better look at this. See, these are convex up to that point, and then they're just straight down, and then the others are concave. So I'm going to work on that next. But I've got the other 2 to the same point. I've got the lines all the way up and defined the petals, and I just used a little cardboard template and that's the size of the chisel that defines that edge. And then this is for the center one. So, but we got to work on getting this bottom part convex, which means we got to bring that down. Got to deepen that V cut quite a bit, and then shape those. So we got the bottom petals pretty well defined. I'll need to go back and smooth that all out best I can with the chisels. Not sure a scraper's going to work too well on this because basically it's end grain right here. But we'll do something to get it smoothed out. So now we'll start working on the upper petals. And the next step, define those edges. And I had to bring this down a little bit. I should have turned that step. So I'm bringing these all down. That's not going to be we'll have to take a gouge and actually shape the petal later. Right now I just need to bring those all down while I'm shaping these. You can see these are still square up here. So we're just working my way around. All right, we're just scooping the petals out. Got a few more to go, and clean everything up, and we'll be done with the center one. All right, the center one is done, and that's kind of what it'll look like when it's in there. So it's going to be 8 foot up in the air, so it'll be kind of up like that. So we just have the flame part to do. This one is about ready. So start on the. So here are the side ones, and I started defining the leaves. So I just rough them out and then take a gouge and trim that even. So I got all the way around to go on this one, and then I'll do the same on the other one. Well, we had a little mistake. As what happens a lot of time when you're doing something repetitive, this is the second one. There's got the first one all done. So, and I've been doing just 3 of them at a time, going around, and I took the chisel and cut that like right there, or an area where I didn't have all the material out of there. So that instantly broke that off. And I had it in my hand, the piece, and then it fell to the floor and disappeared forever. So I've spent 10 minutes going through all that. I couldn't find it. So, as they say, stuff happens. So there's 2 ways to go about this. We can just cut it smooth, and that particular petal won't stick out quite as far. Or we can try to put a piece in there. Obviously, we can't find the original piece. That would have been the best solution. So I'm just going to take a chisel and make that a flat. And then we're going to glue on a piece. Now, I don't have anything from this particular, this was the 12-quarter stock. I save all of my scraps until I'm done with the project, just for something like this. So I got a piece here that I've shaved kind of in the shape of that piece, and the grain is going, you got to pay attention to the grain. See, the grains is going this way, so it's kind of way on the edge. So I'm gonna just put that. There's not too many lines there to try to match up. So, and in the end, I can put this petal in the back of the case. So anyway, so we're going to cut that off flat, and then saw a little piece out of that, and then we're going to glue it on there. All right, so we got that cut off, and then here's the little piece. And there's no real good way to clamp this. I don't want to put pressure on the opposite side on the petal. I'm only 2 away from being done, so I'm going to use super glue with an activator and just stick it on there. That'll stick there pretty quick with the activator. All right, there's the repair. You can just barely see that line there. I put some alcohol on it to kind of see how the color was going to come. That looks pretty close. Actually, you can see it kind of drying out faster right there. Yeah, see, it's becoming more visible. But I think once we got we're going to put a dye on it, and then, the shellac, I think we'll be fine. So we got to define all of these ribs a little bit better. We're going to flip it around and do that. And then we have to scoop out the petals with a gouge. And then that bottom will be done. Do that to the other one as well. All right, they're upside down, but we've got the 2 outside balls done. The picture is oversized, so there. So now we have to do the tops of the 3. All right, so here are the flame part of the fittings. What I've done is I've marked it in 4 equal parts. There are 6 flutes that make 1 complete revolution. So I'm going to divide this into 6 pieces, or 6 divisions at the base, and then at the center, because as it's halfway around, it's going to be on the same, on the opposite side, and then at the top, because that's where it's going to come back. And then these other 2 lines will mark at the areas halfway in between the 6 divisions, so that then we'll draw the spiral from the source through this line, this line, and then back around. So we need to divide this off into the 6 segments, just like we did with the other. I'll get this in my right there. So we'll start with the base. Just mark a line there. Mark a line there. So then I'll move it 12 divisions. What's that? So I'll move it 30 degrees and mark these 2 lines, and then the 60 degrees and mark just like I did this one. Does that make sense? All right, so here are all 3, just connected all the dots, and so it's pretty good. So that'll all kind of straighten itself out once I'll start shaping those with the round rasp. And that'll leave them all out, get them right. Then we'll finish it off with carving tools. So that's what's next, I guess. And so I started here, and I've just taken a little rasp to define the starts of these flutes. And so I'll do that a little bit more and get them kind of straightened out. And then we'll go over it with the carving tools and just work our way around. We're going to do that 3 times. All right, ran into a little issue. This is my first one, and I was doing it, and they seem to be too close together, and the angle wasn't right. So I decided that I had this as being divided by 6 flutes that went 1 complete revolution, and I'm pretty sure the 6 is right. I can see 1 edge, 2 edge, 3 edge, and that's in 1/2 of the picture. So I'm pretty sure the 6 is right. But I think it only goes around 3/4 of the revolution. So that's what this one is. And the angle of these is better. I don't know that it exactly matches. These almost look like they're even straighter up. This is more up than this one, and they are bigger. The flutes, so they were about this big on this one, and see they're that much bigger. And this picture's about life size, so I think that's closer. Maybe they didn't even quite go 3/4 of the way. Anyway, so I'm going to have to turn at least 1 more on the lathe, maybe 2 more if this one isn't right. So I'm going to work on this for a little bit and shape it out more, see what it looks like when I actually got it fleshed out. All right, I think that is better. That looks closer to what we're doing, so we're there. So I'll have to return this one. And I also noticed I had another mistake, but I'm not going to do it. These look a little small. So I went and I counted them, and I had it as drawn as being 18 of the petals. And on this one I've got 20. And on the other 2 I've got 20. So what I think I did is I used the wrong circle of holes on my divider, my lathe divider. So I've got 20 instead of 18. So 18 would make them just a titch bigger. So I don't think at this point it's worth redoing it, especially since it's going to be sitting 8 feet off the ground. So that'll be one of those things that nobody will ever notice. So we're going to finish these with that. I'm going to leave this rib a little fat. See, they're pretty narrow on this, but for 2 reasons. It gives me some correction space if I don't have the angles quite right. I guess it gives me a little wiggle room to straighten those things out. And then the other reason is that this is cherry, and it's a lot more brittle with that end grain rib like that, it's going to be really easy to break off. So we're going to save that right to the end and probably not make it quite so sharp. At least maybe we'll do it with sandpaper or something, because it's going to be hard to push that. You have to, here in the middle, you have to carve, you know, on this side of the groove going this way and that side of the groove coming this way. Right, you want to go downhill with the grain, so you kind of have to go back and forth. So we'll continue working on this. All right, we got this roughed out, and I think it looks pretty good. So now we'll just narrow those ribs up, refine that, look it over, see if there's a flute that needs widening. Then we'll just finish it up. All right, we got these all done. So there's one. I still have to, these aren't quite sitting straight. I'll have to do that, and I have to sand this. This is just sitting there. So just a few finishing oddball things to do. That's the top one. And then the other side. So looks pretty good. So I still don't have the hinges. I'll have to call, find out when they're going to come. So I'm going to start the process of going over it, getting ready for finish. We're getting there. We got everything is constructed. Everything is built. So now it's a matter of the hardware and putting the finish on it. Well, I checked on my hinges, and there's a manufacturing error. So they'll have to start over on them. So I don't have an ETA. So there's not much left to do. I did start the finishing process. I put these 3 on a board for the finishing process. And first thing I did was I just wetted them to raise the grain, since I'm using a water-based dye, trans tint dye. So I did that, and I just take some brown paper bags and rub them down and get all the little fuzzies off of there, and then put the dye on. So they're pretty smooth, but I'll go over it with the bag again. And then we're going to put a bunch of coats of shellac on there until it starts getting shiny. And then we'll start rubbing the finish down to get it smooth until it's all pretty well covered, and then we'll rub it down with the Scotch-Brite, get the shininess off of it, and then I use a brown wax on top of that, and then you kind of buff it, and that gives you the shellac is like a wet shine. It's really shiny, but if you buff it down with the Scotch-Brite pads, and then put the wax on it, it's more of a, I don't know, you want to say a dry shine, but it's more of it's a better looking finish to me. So that's what we're going to do. So I don't know if you can see all that. One thing I still have to put the back on the desk, so that's just a matter of milling up. I've got the 3 boards, and they've got a lap joint, so that each one of them can move, and they'll just be nailed on the back, so that won't take long. I did make some hardware for the latches. Let me show you that. All right, here is 3 pieces of hardware that I had to make. These are the latching mechanism for the 3 doors on the upper case, and they were not brass on the original. So I just got some bar stock at Home Depot and made these myself. Just a matter of drilling a bunch of holes there, and then taking a file to make the rectangular openings on these. I took a hacksaw and trimmed that so it wasn't quite as wide, looks a little better. I didn't do that on this one just because it's already narrower. So the way these work is, here is the lock for the center door, and the plunger's out, it would normally be out, but as the door closes, so this would be mounted on the case. So if that's on the case, on the one that's mounted on the vertical divider, as the door closes, then you actuate the plunger, it will go into that hole and lock it. So now you can't come out. So this center door and this left door are hinged together. So that holds these two doors in. On the other side of the center door is this little guy, and this is mounted on the other vertical divider. And so as that door comes in like this, because it's hinged to the other door, it comes in like this and locks the door. Well, that should do it for this episode. It may be a little bit before we get the next one, the final one for this project. Since I assume it's going to be a few weeks before I get the hinges, I won't be able to put finish on the case and the doors until I get the hinges, because I still have the mortises to put in for the hinges, and maybe trim a door or two to get it all to fit right. So, but there are some other things I can finish the bonnet top, put the finish on the bonnet top and things like that. So we'll do those little odd things, but we're probably looking at a few weeks before everything is finished. And then there'll be one more episode of showing how this all looks together. Thanks for watching. It's been a long project. We're going to finish up in August. I started making drawings for this last August. I wouldn't have believed it took a year, but we're headed for that. So, till next time.